Following Celtic in the Europa Cup.
There we go. Very good evening to you and welcome to a very early edition, you would say, of Scottish Football Zone tonight. Very special game ahead against Celtic and Stuttgart in the Europa League, and it's late night, so that must mean we're getting closer to the final of the European competition. But anyway, so we're here, building up to the game, joined by Ethan Barlow, ahead to the 8 o'clock kickoff tonight. Ethan, how are you? Are you looking forward to this game?
Yeah, I am looking forward to it. I think it'll be a really tough challenge for Martin O'Neill and his players. I think maybe the toughest opponent they've played this season. Stuttgart obviously doing very well in their own right in the German division. In the top four, they've had a really good season. So, yeah, it's going to be a really tough tie for Celtic. But I think if they can play at their best, then Martin O'Neill's obviously got previous this season of pulling some really impressive European results out the bag, as well as obviously being the last Celtic manager to lead Celtic to a win in a UEFA knockout tie, near enough against Stuttgart in that run to the 2003 UEFA Cup final. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting game tonight, and hopefully Celtic can break that duck of not winning a European tie for so long, because obviously it's been a pretty abysmal season for the Scottish clubs in Europe. You've got to say, you look even back to last season, we had Celtic in the same stage of the Champions League, and Rangers automatically qualified to the top 8 of the Europa League, and now we have just one club left in the competition, and there's not even a guarantee that any of them are going to be in the last 16. But I think Celtic have a decent chance. Obviously, they'll be second favourites, but I think it's really important they win the match tonight. Stuttgart have got an excellent record at home this season. I think they've only lost 2 games at their own ground, and both of them came to the German champions, Bayern Munich, who obviously knocked Celtic out at this stage of the Champions League last season. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and it should be an excellent 2 legs.
And I suppose both sides are going into it in good form. Stuttgart winning 3-1 at the weekend, Celtic winning 3-2 in that epic last minute 97 minutes. The goal was scored as well. So both teams are going on it in kind of buoyant mood.
Yeah, exactly that. Stuttgart are on a really impressive run recently. Apart from a result, they dropped they dropped all 3 points. They lost at St. Pauli, which was a bit of a surprise result for them. But they've been a lot worse away from home than they have home this season. I think they've got a 76% win rate at home and just a 53% win rate away from home. So not too great, and I think that's where Celtic need to exploit them tonight, because going away to the MHP Arena, I think it's called, as I mentioned, only losing to Bayern Munich is very impressive. So it's going to be difficult when Celtic go over there and you feel that they'll need to take a lead over there. But saying that, we probably said the same last season when they played Bayern Munich. They obviously lost at home by the odd goal, and then went over there and got the equaliser in the tie, and then made it a really close contest. I think if Celtic is to play as well as they did in the 2 legs against Bayern Munich, then they'll have a really good chance of going through. But I don't think they're anywhere near as good a team from the players they have available to the players that were playing maybe last season that aren't in the same form they were then. Kasper Schmeichel, Rio Hatate come to mind. So yeah, it's going to be a really tricky tie for Celtic, but one I think that they can navigate through if they play their best. And I think Martin O'Neill's capable of getting that out of them based on what we've seen in Europe so far this season. But yeah, that's not to say it's going to be an easy night tonight or in the reverse tie next week.
But before we go on, just in case Alex takes a half here, Craig, Alex, for that introduction for the show. That was an amazing introduction you did for that. So you'll be getting a pay rise of 65 pence today. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. the checks in the post, as I say. I don't know when it'll arrive, but I'll come one day. But yeah, I mean, Martin O'Neill has got the kind of like feel good factor back at Celtic Park. Okay, they've not been playing well as such, and that's including Kilmarnock on Sunday, because I don't know about you, even we haven't spoke since away last week, but Celtic could have been 3-0 down easy at half time.
Yeah, they very well could have been, and that's it. I think they are making themselves. They seem like a team that's hard to beat. Looking at the recent games since Martin O'Neill's come in, 10 games played, 0 defeats, with only the 2 draws in Bologna and at Tynecastle. But the defence looked really shaky, especially the weekend. The 2 central defenders, in particular, Austin Trusty and Liam Scales, really struggled with the physicality and the technical ability as well, especially of Tyrese John Jules obviously opened the scoring and then set up the second for Hugo. So yeah, they really struggled, and if they play like that tonight, then the tie could be very well over in the first half. So they'll need to be a lot better, but they'll know that. Martin O'Neill will know that, and I think they will. I expect the Celtic players to rise to the occasion and the challenge tonight, and really put on a good performance. Whether that means winning the game, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I think we've seen this season that Liam Scales and Austin Trusty are very capable at putting in excellent performances in Europe. Obviously, the one in Bologna comes to mind. So yeah, they'll need to play a lot better than they did in that first half. But obviously, the positive, and maybe the only positive you take from the game, is the resilience they show to get back in it, and then obviously take the 3 points at the end of it, which at this point in time, it seems like it's all that matters for Celtic, because it's been a very difficult season, and if they're to end up with the title in their grasp again, then Martin O'Neill, I think the fans will want a statue built for him, and he's done some excellent things since he's came back to the club on both occasions, and if he was to break that long drought without a European tie win as the last manager to do it, then he would. I think what can't he do if he goes on to do that? Because Stuttgart are a top team, as I said. I'm sure we'll hear about them, and I've got a few statistics about their players and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm really just looking forward to it. Excited to see Scottish clubs in Europe again, because we had a little bit of a hiatus, and it's something that I'm actually looking forward to, because a lot of the games for all the teams I've kind of sort of not dreaded, but not really had the same excitement for. And when you get into the knockout rounds, I think it's a different kind of excitement, it's fair to say.
There you go. Alex is asking in the chat as well, do you think Celtic will have to put this game to bed, put the tie to bed tonight, to focus on domestic matters? Because I mean, after this game, obviously they've got Hibs at home on Sunday, and then they're away for 4 back-to-back away games. That's a tall order.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I don't think they need to put the tie to bed. I don't think that's even it is obviously in the realms of possibility, but I don't think you can go into a game against a top level opposition expecting to put the game to bed after the first leg. Obviously, that would be ideal for Martin O'Neill and rotating his squad, but I think we'll see a lot of changes at the weekend for Celtic at home to Hibs. I know it's not an easy game, but they're going to probably target that one as one to rotate out the few. As you said, it's going to be really difficult with the away fixtures coming up. 2 away games at Ibrox, away to Aberdeen as well, obviously away to Stuttgart in that return leg, and probably the last thing that Martin O'Neill will want is extra time over there in Germany. But if that's what it costs to get Celtic through to the next round, and I'm sure he'll be willing to put his players through that, because as we've seen with this Celtic squad, a lot of load management on certain individual players, and yeah, it's not ideal, but that's what happens when you don't have maybe the strongest squad that you'd like. That Celtic do have a lot of players, but not a lot of quality in certain areas of the pitch, and that's why it's going to be really difficult and really interesting to see how Martin O'Neill, Sean Maloney, and the sports scientist team really use the squad throughout these games, because it's not really any ones that you go, there's not no disrespect to Marvin Bartley's side, but there's not a Livingston at home coming up where even Celtic made heavy weather of that. So, yeah, a really difficult period for Celtic, probably the most difficult for any team in Scotland this season, but they have the most financially expensive squad with the biggest wage packet. So if any team was going to have to deal with it, it looks like it was going to be Celtic. And if you want to compete on all fronts, then this is the kind of things that sometimes you have to go through.
Yep, so Celtic opponents is Stuttgart tonight at Parkhead, as I say, 8 o'clock kickoff. Monday afternoon, I had the interview with Daniel Hogg, is a football expert and also in Stuttgart. So I was speaking to him about the game tonight against Celtic. Daniel, the journalist from Stuttgart ahead of the game between Celtic and Stuttgart. So, Daniel, first of all, Stuttgart won 3-1 at the weekend. What can we look out for in Thursday night? Who will be the danger man for Celtic?
Yeah, that's the most important question for Celtic, I think. In the last few weeks, the VfB Stuttgart had a lot of games in a short time, so they've rotated a little bit. The 3-1 at the weekend was very important for the team because they lost the week before at St. Pauli. I think we have to talk about Angelo Stiller as the main important player in the game of Stuttgart. He is the central player in the midfield. He get a lot of ball contacts. He play the passes. He creates the offensive actions. But he was ill last week. He had a little nose influenza topic, so he only come from the bench on Saturday evening for the last 10 minutes, but I think he will start at Celtic Park and will be fit again after these few days. So he is the main important guy who creates the game, the structure, the tactics of VfB. And of course, in the offense, Dennis Undav is in good shape in the last weeks, score a lot of goals. And yeah, these two in combination will be the main factor in the game, I think.
Now, I can't believe you Stuttgart scored 41 goals this season.
That I can believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's great for VfB. They have or could score more because they create many chances, and in some games or some matches they had problems to use these chances or use these chances to goals. And the offense is the main important or the more important thing in the game of VfB. They are under the coach Sebastian Hoeneß. They have a lot of strength in the offense. Ermedin Demirovic also could be mentioned, is back after his first long injury. And these two, Undav and Demirovic, plus Jamie Leveling, who is also in maybe his best shape of his career, are the men for the 41 goals. So I think it's good stats for Stuttgart so long.
And obviously in the table at the moment, you're fourth. You're in fourth position or on the table. Are they pushing towards that title?
Yeah, it's the big topic in Stuttgart if Champions League is the goal for the club, for the team. They played Champions League for the first time after 15 years in the last season. They were out after the league phase, don't go to the knockout round, and now after the victory in the Trophy Cup, the DFB Pokal, they are now in Europa League, and now they get more and more such international games. And I think if we watch on the team, on the players, on the structure of the team, it must be the goal of the club to go to the Europe Cup again. And if we look at the Bundesliga, we saw Leipzig, we saw Leverkusen. They are more or less on the same level than Stuttgart, and so they're in between in the fight to the Champions League. And I think they can make it when they hold the level from the last few games and weeks. That's the most important thing. Last season they had a little breakdown in the spring and go down in the table. They were 4th in January last year, and at the end they were on 9. And that's the point for this season, that they hold this level for the whole season, and then I think they will go to top 4 and Champions League again next season.
Daniel, I've got to ask you before we finish the interview, the Scottish football is renowned for Celtic and Rangers and the title hopes, but this season it's a wee bit different because we've got Celtic, Rangers and Hearts all wanting to become champions of Scotland. Just tell us what it's like over in Germany about Scottish football. Are they talking about a 3-horse race over in Germany? Because obviously in previous years it's only been about Celtic and Rangers.
Mm-hmm. That's the two Scottish teams where we in Germany talk about. It's Rangers and Celtic. Celtic for me and for some people in Stuttgart much more, because it's a don't know the more the look on Celtic. Now in this year, especially from Germany, it's very interesting to look to Rangers because of Daniel Röhl, the German coach. So that's in the point of view of Germany. But I think if we talk about Scottish football in Germany, there are always Celtic and Rangers, and in my opinion, Celtic on top.
Talking to us about the game tonight at Celtic Park, and I'll be catching up with him next week again to speak about the game tonight, but also hopefully Celtic scoring the tie, and we can speak to him about the hopes next first night of the game, Ethan.
Yeah, hopefully that is the case, and Daniel got a lot of information from him there. That was a very good interview. So, and I think he's pretty confident in Stuttgart. He sounded and pretty confident in the league form that they're going to be able to hold on to 4th place. I know it's very tight, especially between 3rd and 4th and 5th. And around that area, I think Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund sort of running away with the top 2 at the moment. But Stuttgart are still an excellent side, playing in a really solid league, and it'll be interesting to see who they may be starting some positions tonight. I've seen a few predicted lineups saying that Angelo Stiller, who Daniel pointed out is the star man, the defensive midfielder, maybe not starting tonight, but I think he is, especially if it was only an illness, which meant he didn't start the game the other day. So I think he'll start, and he'll be one to watch. A German international former Bayern Munich youngster. So he's an excellent player and probably Stuttgart's best. But as he said, they've got other players, especially in the attacking areas. Chris Führich on the left, Jamie Leveling on the right, and then Ermedin Demirovic, the Bosnian striker, has 10 goals and 20 appearances this season. Daniel said he was coming back from injury, and that's an excellent record he's had in the games he has played. Denny Sundav in behind him, most likely, who maybe if he had sort of came through in the ranks at the club he was picked up from, he could have been a Hearts player, because he was picked up by Tony Bloom at USG, of course, owned by Tony Bloom, and then had an unsuccessful spell at Brighton, who Tony Bloom, of course, also has investment in, but it's found his home again in his homeland. 48 goals in 100 games for Stuttgart is an excellent record, so he'll be one to watch. They've also got a German international. He hasn't been in some of the recent squads, but did start the opening match of Euro 2024 for Germany, and that defeat we'll not talk about too much from a Scotland point of view. But he started the left patch, just shows the quality there. And then they've got Alexander Nubel as well in goals, who's on loan from Bayern Munich and could possibly be the successor to Manuel Neuer. So they've got some excellent players in their squad. It's going to be really difficult for Celtic across the two legs, but I think Celtic will be able to compete with them, hopefully. And hopefully, as you said, that the tie's still alive in the second leg next week. And yeah, but it will be a difficult game for Celtic, and they will have to beat their very best. It'll be interesting to see who Martin O'Neill goes for in midfield, because obviously Arne Engels is out injured until the end of next month. And yeah, will it be Rio Hatate who goes in there alongside Benjamin Nygren and Callum McGregor, who seem both undroppable at the minute, or will it be Luke McCowan? So yeah, there's a few questions there. Who does he go for up top? So yeah, I think it's going to be exciting to see how both teams line up, and then hopefully the game produces, as I think it will. I think it'll be an excellent two-legged tie, which will be really tight and close to call, and hopefully Celtic get the edge over the two legs.
I mean, see when you think of it, Ethan, right? Celtic's not had the best of seasons, but I think that's more to do with what's going on off the park, maybe than on the park. And obviously you had Brendan Rodgers and Wilfred Nancy. But I think if you take a step back, Martin O'Neill's come in, but by the way, he's come back twice this season, right? But he's actually turned Celtic around, because obviously, like, if you say Celtic fans, and maybe like November, December, you will get out of the group. You will play a playoff game against the German opposition. Then they would just laugh at you. So, like, I think he's done a brilliant job when you think about it, because I mean, they're still in the title race, still in the Scottish Cup, and still in European football.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think people will speculate, and this is always going to be a speculative point, but if Celtic had stuck with Martin O'Neill instead of obviously trying to appoint a full-time manager and Wilfred Nancy, then you can make the case that they would have won a Scottish League Cup against St Mirren. Martin O'Neill won the semi-final against Rangers and got them to the final. You could argue that they would be in an excellent position in this very closely contested league title race. And you could also, well, you wouldn't even have to argue, because he got them obviously to this stage of the Europa League anyway. I think the only game that Wilfred Nancy was in charge of was that defeat at home to Roma, which you can't really say much for that, but you would have felt that Martin O'Neill probably would have got a better, a more competitive performance from the players. But Roma are obviously a top side, who Stuttgart actually lost to as well in the league phase. They did play them in the Italian capital and lost 2-0. And the other team that both these teams played in the league phase was Feyenoord. Obviously, Celtic won away from home, an excellent result. Stuttgart beat them at home by the same margin. So looking at those two fixtures in particular is the only sort of basis to go off, and comparing the two sides, it looks like a very tightly contested game, and hopefully it turns out that way and it is really entertaining. But as you said, there's still a lot to play for Celtic, and they've got to give massive credit to Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney as well for making that happen. And whatever happens this season, I think the Celtic fans will probably be grateful for the fact that Martin O'Neill's came out of his retirement to help the club try and win trophies and try and have a successful run in European football. And if he's to do anything, but be it win one of the two domestic cups or go on a run in Europe, maybe that even being winning one tie, then I think he would have done an excellent job, and he has done so far over both spells. You think the only game they've lost is that one they were heavily beaten in Midtjylland, and I think they'll just need to hope that doesn't happen again tonight, because I think Stuttgart are a top side. But as I said, I think Martin O'Neill will be able to get a tune out of the players tonight, and I think they'll rise to the occasion and the atmosphere of Celtic Park.
I mean, Martin O'Neill, I don't know if you saw his mega conference yesterday, but he said it again yesterday, but he said it again when they get drawn out against Stuttgart. He said, why not dream big? Why not think about the final? Because there's no point of going out against teams at Stuttgart and thinking, well, we're going to be up against it here, but we're going to get beat. So I think he's got that mentality, and obviously he's going to drum that into the players.
Yeah, exactly that. And Martin O'Neill comes from a previous era of managing Celtic, where Celtic and Rangers weren't underdogs going into these kind of ties, and Celtic and Rangers were actually the favourites for a lot of these games. And so, of course, the evolution of football has changed, and a lot of the big players, or the best players rather, play in the so-called Big Five leagues. But there's no reason why, especially in Europa League, I think there's very little between a lot of the teams in the Europa League. Obviously, you've got your favourites and stuff like that, but I think I think I said this previously, under Martin O'Neill, it looks like Celtic could give any team in this competition a run for their money, and a two-legged tie especially. So there's no reason why he can't be confident for tonight. I've seen he's playing down knowing where the final was. I'm going to say that he probably doesn't really care about where it is, because knowing his mantra, and most managers' mantra, is very sort of cliche, but the next game's always the biggest one. So this tie is obviously the one on his mind at the minute, and if they get through this, maybe the Celtic fans can dream a little bit more of heading to Istanbul, which, as Martin O'Neill said, not just geographically far away, but in terms of the amount of matches they have to play. But yeah, there's no reason why they can't go on a run, I think, in the competition this season, but they'll have to play at their best. They can't afford any cheap defending like we've seen at the weekend, like we've seen against Utrecht in the last game of the league phase, where they started the game excellently and then obviously shipped 2 goals, which had the stadium on the edge of their seats when they didn't really need to be. So they'll need to be a lot better at that, but I think if they can have a similar start to what they did against the struggling Dutch side at home, then they'll be in an excellent place to go through in the tie.
Of course, Martin O'Neill, played down where the final was. Yeah, I recognise that. But I think, to be fair, I think all managers can do that as well. But he said it's going to be a major test for us. They're a very strong outfit. But then, as I said, he went on to say, well, you know why be in the competition? Because why be in it if you can't think you're going to win it? You know, and I know everybody think, oh well, it's a tall order, but you never know. I mean, you look at West Ham and you look at other teams, albeit that was a Conference League, and I know people has got their own comments about the Conference League, but if Celtic win the Conference League, even I'm sure you wouldn't care, because I still think it's a European competition, you know, no matter what level it is.
Exactly that, and of course it's not the ideal one you want to be winning, but it's still one that has a lot of really solid teams in it, and the Europa League even more so. And I think that this is if teams, especially if we're looking at it now in Scotland, want to compete on a European stage. Financially, I'm speaking about mostly Celtic and Rangers. Maybe you could add Hearts to that with the way they performed this season. Then this is certainly the competition to do it, but there shouldn't be any limitations on expectations put on any Scottish clubs. You seen last night, Bodo Glimt again, who have had an excellent end to their Champions League phase, beat Atletico Madrid and Manchester City, and then beat Inter Milan in the first leg of their playoff round last night. So there's no reason why Celtic can't beat Stuttgart over two legs. And you look at even last season, Stuttgart finished ninth in the Bundesliga, as Daniel spoke on. They sort of had late part of the season collapse, which meant they fell out of Champions League places, but won the DFB Pokal, the German Cup, to qualify for the Europa League. But yeah, they didn't even get out the Champions League phase last season, and Celtic obviously did. And I know Celtic have regressed since then, and I think that's been evident in all fronts this year. But yeah, it's going to be a really difficult game to call, I think, and that's what makes it really exciting. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and really looking forward to seeing some of the lineup decisions from both managers. Sebastian Hoeneß, the Stuttgart boss, seems like a very well accomplished manager for his age, 43 years old. So obviously 30 years younger than 30 years, around 30 years younger than Martin O'Neill. And I think he spoke about that obviously a very experienced coach in the opposite dugout, and he gave Celtic the plaudits for their recent run of games. So yeah, I think he'll not be overlooking this challenge. And if you want to say about Celtic looking to get the monkey off their back for going so long without a win in Europe, a European two-legged tie, then Stuttgart, I believe, haven't won one since the 2010-11 season, I think it was, against Benfica in the Europa League last 32. So that's something they'll be looking to change as well. So that sort of pressure's on them, and they'll obviously be big favourites in the German press and German media with how they've played this season. They've earned that reputation, fourth in the Bundesliga, as we've kept saying. They're into the German Cup semi-finals as the holders. So yeah, they're a top team, and they'll have pressure and expectations on them as well as Celtic.
Of course, one player is impressing at Celtic, even that. Get your thoughts on Sebastian Tinecti. He was speaking about the game yesterday. He says, we're doing okay, but we still like to improve, but I'm happy to help the team with a game. And I suppose, like, if you hear your player saying that, it's like brilliant. It's like music to managers' ears, because nobody is a completely they've got the gift of a brilliant football player, because they always want to kind of improve, and obviously because they're playing tonight against Stuttgart, a completely different game, a completely different level to the likes of what you were saying, Livingston or even Kilmarnock Sunday.
Yeah, exactly that. But I think he's the thing with Sebastian Tinecki, as you said, really good point, that this is a different level of quality he'll be up against tonight. And you would imagine he's going to start the match. I know he's been in and out of the team, but with his recent contributions, I think he's got to start for Celtic tonight. And you've seen since he's came in that on the ball he's very good. 1v1 situations, dribbling. When he's confident, he's excellent in those areas. When he's not confident or less confident, and maybe his fullbacks took the ball off him a few times, like a lot of wingers, he's less confident to take on his man and stuff like that. But I think the problem with him has always been his end product, and I think he's really improved that over the last few games. Scored some really important goals, an excellent goal as well at Rugby Park, and obviously set up a few as well, one against Dundee and one against the winning goal, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's against Livingston. And speaking of Oxlade-Chamberlain, he'll be a big miss for Celtic tonight. Obviously not in European squad, unfortunately, and I believe the other one of the new signings might have been Joel Mvuka, who's not been in the Celtic squads full stop since making his debut against Dundee in the Cup, so I don't think that'll be as big a miss, but yeah, I think he's one that has to start tonight, and as you said, it's really promising that he seems like he's got an excellent attitude to the game and really wants to improve on his weaknesses. So yeah, I think he's a good asset for Celtic to have. They did invest a lot of money into him, but I think they'll be able to get it back if they can if he can keep up the level of performances he has been recently.
I think as well that even that if he came across a bit arrogant and say, "Oh yeah, I'm a brilliant football player" and all that, what we know that most football players are as well. But when Sebastian Connecty is coming out and saying comments like that, you know, that he still wants to learn, he still wants to maybe get up to levels. Obviously, there's different levels in the game. You know, it's always good to kind of hear that. You were talking about the team early on. Obviously, it's way too early to get the team news, but I think we can maybe guess who will be in the team tonight. Any left field decision from Martin O'Neill tonight, even?
I don't think there will be. I think a few people have been hoping that the inevitable, it would seem in my eyes, that Rio Haddad is going to start this game because of his recent performances, maybe not recent performances for a while that have been well under the level that he was once previously capable of at Celtic. I think he will come into the midfield alongside Benjamin Nigre. I think it's a really attacking midfield partner in Callum McGregor, but I think, as I said, I think Celtic need to win the game tonight. And I think Rio Haddad, one thing, like his international counterpart, Dyson Maeda, they are excellent pressers of the football. So regardless of what they're doing on the ball, and I think both of them have left a lot to be desired this season, and some people have questioned maybe whether their head is in the right space if they want to be at Celtic. Of course, we did hear about Dyson Maeda that was rejected the opportunity to go to Germany with Wolfsburg. So yeah, I think they're going to be really big assets to Celtic in this tie in that way, but they'll need to be better on the ball tonight, both of them. Rio Haddad, if he doesn't start, he'll certainly play a part. I think the other alternative you're maybe looking for in there is Luke McCowan, who hasn't really played a lot recently. Paulo Bernardo, who has had numerous opportunities, it seems, to make an impact and not really performed this season. So yeah, I think that would be maybe the only area. Well, no, the striker position. Is he going to stick with Junior Adamu, or is he going to bring back in Thomas Chivanchara, who played a massive part in 2 of the goals at the weekend? I think Thomas Chivanchara will start. I think Dyson Maeda will start, and I think Sebastian Tenetke will start as well. And then I think the back four really back four and goalkeeper really picks itself. I think some Celtic fans are, unfortunately, would say for the goalkeeper position with Kasper Schmeichel, but I think obviously we've seen that they don't have enough confidence in either of the backups, whether that be Vojami Sanisalo or Ross Duan, to come in and replace him, and that's not going to change for a match of this magnitude. I think that some of the talk was that Kasper Schmeichel's still dealing with an injury, which on a shoulder injury, which is obviously not great for a goalkeeper. And then I think the back four will probably pick itself: Kieran Tierney, Austin Trusty, Liam Scales, and the ever important at the weekend, Julian Araujo, who I've seen some Celtic fans debating whether he's a better player than Alistair Johnston. So I'm not ready to really have that debate yet, but he's certainly been an excellent bit of business for Celtic to get in on loan, as have a lot of the signings, the January signings, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who would have done that despite being signed after the window. They all look like they can be massive assets and contribute a lot to Celtic over these 2 legs, and of course over the duration of the season. But yeah, I think we'll really see possibly across these 2 ties how much Celtic miss Arne Engels and why. I think still a ridiculous inflated fee, but why a club was maybe willing to pay £25 million at the last hour of the transfer window.
Thomas Vincaro, I like the look of him. Against Hearts, I know he was getting criticised, but I mean, supporters aren't happy, and if they're playing well, supporters would be saying, well, he's playing too well for us, and I know that. But I don't know about you, Ethan, but he gives Celtic another a different option in terms of he's very physical in a way, and you might laugh at my comment, what I'm going to say here, but he reminds me of Giakoumakis in a way, not the same build, but he's got the same kind of the upper strength.
Yeah, he has, and he's obviously a big target as well with his height, and he's someone that you can sort of lift the ball to and use his height to the advantage. Celtic obviously done that with one of the goals or the only goal actually, he scored for Celtic at home to was it at home to Falkirk? I think it was at home to, yes it was. But no, he's shown some real promise and sometimes he's not been able to get in the game. I think he actually said that hold up play wasn't his strength, but I think he's trying to make good touches and link with his teammates, and obviously the goals haven't came at a ridiculous rate for him yet, but I think he can definitely be a player that can be of use to Celtic between now and the end of the season. I would say he's probably better than what Celtic had going into the January transfer window, and likewise for Junior Adamu. I didn't think he was great at the weekend, but I thought his substitute appearances against Dundee and Livingston, he really made an impact, looked full of energy, and I think they can be two players that Celtic can look to maybe get some goals this season, and they'll need to do if Celtic want to have any success, whether that be in League Cup or Europe.
Going back to the game on Sunday, and albeit Celtic didn't play so well in the first half, Martin O'Neill, I would say, changed the game in the second half with his subs. And obviously, if they win tonight, maybe like 1-0, 2-0 win, surely that's going to bring the supporters back on side, because I also feel there's still this divide about the board and the green big egg and all that. Right enough, I heard Celtic met with I presume it was a green big egg this week. I don't know what the outcome was. They were asking Martin O'Neill about it yesterday, Martin O'Neill was very quick to batter that one away because he wants to focus on the game. But I mean, how key is it to get the supporters back on side, especially for a big European night tonight?
Yeah, it is massive, and obviously I think it's looking like the Green Brigade won't be in Celtic Park in their usual place, whether they'll be somewhere else in the ground like I think we might have seen before, then that's a different question. But yeah, I think it's massive to help the Celtic create an atmosphere tonight. But I think a game like this should maybe be able to create its own atmosphere. The players have obviously got to contribute as well. Give something on the pitch for the players to be able to bounce back between each other, and really make it a difficult occasion for the travelling German side, because as I said, it will be really difficult to go over there to the stadium next week and get a victory, especially. But if you take a lead over there, then I would be pretty confident in Celtic to see out not a victory, maybe a defeat or maybe a draw, but able to go through over the two legs. Actually, been to that stadium, funnily enough, that was the second group game for Scotland at the last Euros against Switzerland. Was it? No, it wasn't Switzerland. It was the last game actually against Hungary. So less fond memories with that one, but it was a nice stadium, apart from obviously the display Scotland put on in that game. But hopefully Celtic can put a better display on over there, and maybe even getting a away win in Europe. Although, as I've said, with their recent record and Stuttgart's record at home this season, that seems very unlikely, which turns up the importance of tonight's game, which I think Stuttgart have lost 3 of their 4 away games in Europe this season. So that's another thing that would give Celtic confidence, but they can't take anything for granted. They'll need to turn up and be the better team tonight and take a lead to over there to Germany.
Yeah, no, you were talking about that as well. I mean, what would your score prediction be tonight for this game?
It's a difficult one. I think it's a really tough one to call, I think, but I'm going to give Celtic just the edge. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win to Martin O'Neill's team and a narrow lead to take over to Germany next week.
Yeah, I don't know. That kind of score is like a bit iffy, and I don't know who would be happy, Celtic or Stuttgart, 2-1, because obviously they're playing next week. Maybe I would back the Scottish team and say 2-0 to Celtic as well. I mean, in terms of tonight's game, how do you think Celtic will approach the game, Ethan? Do you think that they will come out on the front foot, or do you think they'll be playing, as I say, in stages, kind of like 15 minutes and whatever? Because you would think it would be like 50-50 possession-wise.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I think Celtic will try and come right out the gates quickly and put Stuttgart under pressure, use the home crowd to their advantage and try and get a really early goal and set themselves up to, as you said, maybe go and double their advantage in the tie, because as you said, 2-1 isn't it's a positive scoreline, and I think with the sort of eradication of the away goal rule, 2-1 is a lot better result than it would have been a couple of years ago. But even still, Stuttgart, as I said, with a home record, they'll fancy themselves to win at home. So yeah, I think Celtic will try and get a goal quick, and then maybe they'll obviously have to go through periods of being on the back foot, but so will Stuttgart, you would think, and that'll what will make it a really interesting game. But yeah, Celtic need to take their chances tonight. I think that's been one thing that they've really not been good at this season, is converting their chances, and they've not been efficient in front of goal, and that's probably why they've had to wait until the dying minutes to get the winners against Livingston and Kilmarnock, because I think on another day they could have scored a lot more goals. Again, the Livingston game, even before they got the opener, could have had a few more, and they should have probably scored in the first half against Kilmarnock, despite the home team having an excellent first half.
Of course, it's the captain's job to lift the players and, well, not lift them, but tell them how important the game is. But in a night like this, even if you can't get up for a European game, I don't know, you must be in the wrong sport, because playing in front of 60,000, I would imagine the light show will be before the game, all the usual stuff, and it kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, exactly. It does. It speaks for itself, and if you can't get, as you said, if you can't get up for a game like this, then what game are you going to get up for? And although people have questioned the importance of this in Celtic's season, comparing it to the league or the Scottish Cup, I know some Celtic fans would rather win the Europa League than any of the domestic competitions. I think I seen someone saying they would willingly let Rangers win the league and cup double if it meant Celtic won the Europa League, which I'm not sure if I agree with from a Celtic point of view, but that's obviously a very big hypothetical situation. But I don't think there's going to be any sort of Celtic resting players or looking to the next fixtures. I think they see this as a very important competition and opportunity to progress and really have a go at it. As Martin O'Neill said, what's the point in being in it, and what was the point in all those hard fought performances, especially the one in Bologna comes to mind, if they weren't going to give it a go when they got here. They obviously weren't to know that their game against Aberdeen was going to be rearranged. They were going to have to travel to Ibrox in the Scottish Cup quarterfinals. Of course, those things don't help, but they'll want to compete in this competition and show that they're a capable force in European football again, because on a consistent basis they haven't been that for a very, very long time.
I suppose supporters can say that, even maybe you would say keyboard warriors being the computer, but I wouldn't hear Martin and Neil saying that, or any of the players, because they want to be as professional as they can, and albeit that the opposition's tough, but you still got to go out and do your job. And I suppose, like, it doesn't matter if you're playing Stuttgart or Ross County at the weekend, that the job is still the same: get 3 points or get through to the next round, or else in this situation is stay in the cat tie until next week.
Yeah, that's it. And this game is of the same importance as the one at the weekend, and the one that will follow this, or go in between the two legs, at home to Hibs, because obviously a cup competition, sort of everybody knows the rules of it, especially a domestic one with one-off games. There's no margin for error in losing, and it seems like the title race is going to be like that, especially when you've got two teams who are alongside Celtic that look very capable of also winning the league title. So yeah, every game for Celtic between now and the end of the season is going to feel like a cup final, and they'll need to try and win as many of those cup finals as they can, and try and have the best opportunity to try and lift a treble. I don't think they'll win all three. I think they would maybe be lucky to win one. But with Martin O'Neill's mentality and what he's installed in the players, which I think is belief and unity, and that they're willing to fight until the end of games, resilience, and you never know what they could do. And I think tonight is an excellent opportunity to build even more confidence in their ability against a top level opposition, because obviously in the last two games they've struggled against two of the struggling teams in the Scottish Premiership, which you may look at it on the face of it and go, oh well, if they can only just beat them, then how are they going to beat Stuttgart? But it never works like that. And the amount of, mental strength the players will take from the last three games as well, coming from behind to win, it'll be enormous, especially over these two ties when they have to go over to Stuttgart especially, and they'll probably be on the back foot for a lot of that game. If they go a goal behind, how do they react? Because this is a Celtic team which, although you can question the quality and how good of a side they are, they don't lose very often under Martin O'Neill, and I don't expect that to change tonight. I don't think it'll be an easy tie for Stuttgart at all. I wouldn't be surprised if they went through over the two legs, but I think Martin O'Neill's team will make it very, very difficult for them if they were to.
I mean, I don't believe in if you're a Celtic man or a Rangers man and you get the job, because I mean you can be a Celtic man and be the worst manager in history, but I mean this goes to show that Martin O'Neill's a very, very good manager, because obviously he's went from a team with, Chris Sutton, Paul Lambert, Henrik Larsson, John Hartson to this team. So it's two kind of like completely different teams and two different kind of levels, you would say.
Yeah, it's completely different, and that's that. He's not down tools. Of course, you wouldn't expect him to, but I think he might have been looking at the end of that January transfer window when he was probably promised a few players, I would imagine, by the Celtic board in order to return for the third occasion, that he would get backed, and it looked for a while that he wasn't going to get any players in, but obviously they did get some players in on loan, and they've helped and popped up with some big moments, and he'll want to try and do the best, not for a sort of individual ego point of view as a football manager looking to earn respect in the game, because that's not what Martin O'Neill requires, but I think he just really wants to help Celtic Football Club, and I think that's why, as I said, I think the Celtic fans will be grateful for his contribution regardless of how this season is to end in all three competitions. But yeah, I think he'll be really confident that his players can get the job done over two legs, and yeah, I think that makes for an excellent tie. I think more confident for a knockout tie than I've probably been in a while as a Celtic fan that Martin O'Neill was the manager, because he's obviously got previous, and despite his age, he knows how to get it done over the course, and with the help of Sean Maloney and the other backroom staff, probably provided a more tactical outlook on the game. There isn't much, as I said, there isn't much between the teams, so that kind of belief and real togetherness within the squad that Martin O'Neill installs, then that could be the difference between winning and losing a tie like this, which I don't see a lot between the two teams, as I've said.
How close would be the fans tonight? Because obviously, we spoke about the Green Brigade. They might be there tonight somewhere else. Maybe some people might know where they're going to be at tonight, as well. And I think they have been there the last few games actually. But how close will the fans play tonight in a game like this?
I think they will be, and I think it's been a difficult campaign for Celtic fans to really get up for. As you know, and everyone knows, it's just not the same as the Champions League. It's not the same level of teams. I think there's not much between most of the teams, but you miss out those big ties against your Real Madrids and Bayern Munichs and stuff like that when you're in the Europa League, unfortunately. And it is sometimes difficult to create that atmosphere, especially when the league phase games, you've got 8 of them, and it feels like, especially at the start, that if you lose a game, then you've still got 7 more to sort of claw back the deficit. But I think that because it's a knockout tie, because Celtic have waited so long to really feel confident in a knockout tie in European football and really feel like they can have a go at a European campaign under a manager who's obviously the last one to do it at Celtic, then I think there will be a really strong atmosphere from the home team tonight, regardless of the fact that the Green Brigade won't be in their usually designated standing section area in the corner.
Do you think as well that obviously we spoke about this about Rangers last season as well, but I mean, I don't think it really matters that if you're well, I think Celtic's preference would be to be at home second, because like you know what to do, but I mean you've just got to take it.
Yeah, exactly. You've just got to deal with it, and it nearly worked for Celtic last year. I know it would have been really difficult had Alphonso Davies not got that late goal and knocked them out. They would have to play extra time against Bayern Munich on tired legs anyway, which he probably would have fancied Bayern Munich to win. But had Celtic taken their chances in that tie, could have been a different story, and we could have been looking at a historic Celtic result in Europe to break that duck. Obviously, it wasn't to be the case. But yeah, I think they need to just get on with it tonight, and they have the opportunity to look on it. On the flip side, they have the opportunity to be their team that establishes that lead in the tie, and then you can say they know what they have to defend when they go over there to Germany. And I think it'll be really difficult going away there. But if they can get a positive result tonight and grow more confidence, between that group of players, then you never know, that they'll certainly have an opportunity to go through.
I think you alluded to it early on, Ethan, when you said about the Aberdeen game. I think most Celtic fans were a bit disappointed how the Aberdeen game was off, because like they were kind of building a kind of wee momentum, especially because the night before Hearts got beat. But when you look at it now, it's like, well, I mean, Celtic's got to go, but I mean, 4 difficult away games, and most of them are in different competitions. So it's going to kind of, I think when Celtic comes back to Parkhead, I think the next home game is Kilmarnock. I'm not sure. No, it's not. No, I'm anyway. But I think we would know by that time how the season is shaping up for Celtic.
Yeah, exactly that. The next home games are against Motherwell mid-March. So yeah, that seems a long way away, and not an easy team as well. But yeah, I think I was thinking when Celtic were going to play Aberdeen away, that if they won that match, I would probably have them as my favourites for the league title. And just in that way that they obviously win again at a difficult place to go. I know Aberdeen have been poor this season, have a terrible record against Celtic, especially at home in recent years, but it would still be a massive result, especially with Livingston and Kilmarnock to play in the next couple of games after that, which obviously they went on to win. You could say advantage is still in Celtic's hands with the fact they have that game in hand to go top, although they'll have to establish some goal difference in that time with games against Hibs and Rangers before they even go to Pittodrie. So yes, it's a really difficult run for Celtic over the next even 4, 5, 6. Is that 7 games? Yeah, next 7 games, even though 3 of them are home. You're at home to one of the top sides in Germany, a Hibs side which you've already dropped points to at home this season, and a Motherwell side which absolutely played you off the park the last time you went up against them and seemed like maybe arguably the most. I know they lost in the Scottish Cup last night, but it was a very weird game of football with a rotated team. So yeah, I wouldn't too much stock into that. And of course, cup competitions are always strange and funny things happen. So yeah, really difficult run for Celtic, and if they can come out of it, maybe even winning half of the games, then that'll be seen as a successful run for Martin O'Neill, depending what games they win, of course.
But I mean, in saying that, even the opposite side would be, if you asked any player, they would rather play 4 games than claim 4 games. Yeah, sort of say that one again. You would rather, like, if you maybe spoke to 1 or 2 of the players, they would rather play 4 games in general, rather than 4 training sessions.
Yeah, exactly that. They're playing an extra if you're talking about in terms of the context of the title race, they're playing an extra 3 games at least to Rangers. Obviously, the rescheduled game in hand against Aberdeen in the 2 European games. They're playing an extra 4 games to Hearts at least, obviously with the Scottish Cup game against Rangers. So that's a lot of games to play, and you can say that, and I would say that that's an advantage to Hearts and Rangers in that way. Of course, Hearts the most being not in any competition apart from the league, but if you want to be a top team that's competing in every competition, then that's what you need to do. You can't. Sometimes the schedule's unfair on you, but if you want to be a big club that's competing in every competition and trying to be successful in all of them, then that's what you have to do. I think probably the point and the fact where the real emphasis on this run of fixtures come from is the fact that Celtic have been struggling recently to get the wins over the line, despite the fact they have been doing them, and the weakness of the squad, you would say, in comparison to previous years gone by. But we've not seen Celtic go through a run like this yet under Martin O'Neill. We've not. Martin O'Neill certainly in his last 2 spells this season, but we've also not seen Martin O'Neill lose as Celtic manager in this season very often. So there's certain things that would probably make Celtic fans feel really anxious about the run, but ones that would make you feel really positive as well. So we're really interesting to see how Celtic come out at the end of that run, and it will be season defining for them in a League Cup and European context, you would imagine.
Well, where do you stand in terms of Celtic score a last-minute goal, their luck's going to run out at some point, because obviously you can't score week in, week out, 95, 97, 94 minutes. But another side of that, it's like that's why they're champions, because they go right to the death as well, and especially with Martin O'Neill. So, I mean, where do you stand on that debate? Do you think that's good supporters being supporters, or?
Yeah, no, I think it can be. You can look at it on both sides, and both can be right. That you can't keep scoring expecting to score goals in the last minute. But in the same breath, it's an excellent trait to have as a team, and it's an excellent thing which Celtic have done over the last 3 games. It'll build confidence between the players. It'll build unity. I've touched on all this already. I'm kind of repeating myself, but yeah, it's not a bad thing. Obviously, you want to be winning by in convincing fashions, but if you look in the other league title contenders, Hearts and Rangers aren't really winning in convincing fashion either. And when it comes down to three teams who, between them in quality of players and quality of the squad, I don't think there's much between the three sides. And having an excellent mentality in a title run is certainly not a bad thing to have. And if you had to say what team has the strongest mentality at the minute, then I think you would probably be wrong, I would say, if you said anyone but Celtic.
And I think as well, that's a good point you've made, I think as well, because Celtic's been over the course before. I mean, I remember a few seasons back, they went up to Ross County and was it Anthony Ralston scored a header in like 95 minutes as well, and that was under, I can't remember who the manager was at the time, but
it was Ange Postecoglou's first season. I think
yeah,
it was.
okay. So I mean, it goes to show you that you know, it doesn't matter what manager is in charge at Celtic or whoever, they go right to the death.
Yeah, exactly that, and it's the players. The players are the constant. Some of the Celtic players, your Callum McGregor's, Kieran Tierney, of course, had a couple of different spells at Celtic, but the same kind of theme there. James Forrest as well. They're the players that install that sort of mentality, that what it is to play for Celtic, and why that this keeps happening. Of course, it is sometimes lucky and there's fortune attached to it, but when you score so many and do so many of something, it starts to become that it's not a coincidence or less of a coincidence. And obviously that's the advantage Celtic have, and maybe the only reason why someone like myself would maybe even say that the Celtic are the favourites for the league title, because they've got the players. I don't think they have the best quality of squad out of the three, but I think they have winners in that squad who have been over the course and know what it means to win league titles, whereas of course Rangers have got a few from the last time they won the league. James Tavernier's the one that comes to mind, might actually be the only one, and of course Hearts don't have almost any, which is why a lot of people are writing them off. I think it's unfair to do, because they've been excellent across the course of the season, and I know they lost to Rangers recently, but you don't need to win every single game against Rangers and Celtic, and they almost have done that up until that game at the weekend. So yeah, I think Hearts will be in it right until the end, and I think Rangers and Celtic will be. But if I had to maybe give my favourite at the minute, based off almost nothing, just because Celtic have done it over the course, I would just give them the slight edge. But yeah, there's very little in it, and that's what makes it the most entertaining Scottish Premiership season, certainly in my lifetime.
Well, obviously, we saw different players coming to Celtic Park, Barcelona, Inter Milan, AC Milan, Juventus. You can name a few. And in fact, Martin was in charge for them all, and you know, he built up a kind of fortress there, but also he built up a good atmosphere. And I think Messi said at one time that he was over when he was playing for Barcelona. That was the best atmosphere that he was involved in as well. So, but yeah, I mean, look, listen, the fans can only do their job. The players need to do their job on the parkers. And if the fans do their job, it'll feed off into the stands.
Yeah, exactly what you said. The players need to deliver, and need to give the fans something to be getting out their seats for, whether that be a throw in, a corner, a tackle. We've seen all these things be celebrated by fans in this country before. So yeah, that's why I think Martin will know that he's got more experience than 95 to 99% of the people in that ground of watching Celtic and what it means to be a part of the football club. So he'll know that if they can get a quick start, whether that being a goal or pressure on Stuttgart's goal, then get the fans behind them, and it could help them across the 90 minutes before as I keep saying, that difficult trip over there, which is looking very daunting, but it'll look a lot less daunting if Celtic carry a lead over there, whether that be by the single goal, and it would be even more excellent if they were to take a lead of a couple goals over there.
And I suppose as well, Ethan, that I'll be fresh in the back of the players' minds who was there last year, that they were only like 2 seconds away from taking Bayern Munich all the way.
Yeah, exactly that's it. You've got to take confidence from that, and I know it's a bit of a different squad. You're missing Cameron Carter-Vickers, you're missing Alistair Johnston, who else? Key player Arne Engels, all injury misses tonight. Rio Hatate and Kasper Schmeichel not at the heights that they once were as Celtic players. Dyson Maeda, you could probably say the same. Of course, Shota injured as well, and Nicholas Kuhn no longer here. Some of the key players from that team, but you've still got the likes of Callum McGregor, James Forrest. Who else would be there? Austin
Schmeichel.
Yeah, Schmeichel's still there. Of course, yeah, and Hatate's there as well. And hopefully the Celtic fans will be hoping that they can sort of find that form again from those games, because Kasper Schmeichel, I remember, was excellent, especially in the Allianz Arena. So, yeah, there's no reason why, as I said, Celtic can't win over the two legs, but I'll caveat that by saying I wouldn't be too surprised if Stuttgart win across the two legs and even win tonight, because they're an excellent side. But it's usually fine margins in these kind of competitions, which will be why Celtic will need to be at their absolute best defensively and in front of goal, whether that be creating chances or taking them when they come.
And obviously as well that you would have to give your full attention and concentration to the game, because one mistake, I'm thinking about the defence, one mistake and it could be an early goal or giving away a cheap penalty.
Yeah, exactly that. It could be, and those things are always really difficult to come back from. Celtic, if I remember, going back to that game against Bayern Munich, they started in actually the best fashion possible. Maybe they got that goal inside the opening 30 seconds, I think it was, and then obviously it was disallowed for offside. And that got the Celtic fans up and confident, going, right, well, okay, on another day that could have been in, and we're playing against Bayern Munich here, so why not? Let's get behind the players and be that 12th man that sometimes is branded about. And of course, I think the elite players like Bayern Munich sort of raise their levels to those occasions and go, okay, it's only noise at the end of the day, but maybe Stuttgart, which is not the elite level of European football like a Bayern Munich, will crumble under that pressure, and Celtic will be able to take advantage of that. And yeah, but as you said, avoiding mistakes in the opening exchanges of the game will be vital to Celtic. They shipped a really careless goal, I remember, at the start of the second half against Bayern Munich, and let Harry Kane have a unmarked from a corner. So you don't want to be doing that. Stuff like that is things you could avoid, and try and give yourself the best chance of winning over the two legs and winning tonight, which I think is the most important thing. And of course, Martin O'Neill, with his one game at a time mantra, which every manager follows, will not be thinking about their trip to Germany yet, because they've got two massive matches to come before that, and especially tonight. And I don't think he'll even be thinking about the game against Hibs at the weekend, and neither they probably should, because they've got a massive task on their hands tonight.
I think Stuttgart holds 59,000 in the ski game. I was looking at the ski game, but so they've got that to contend with, and also I saw the highlights at the weekend. Even there was some atmosphere within the ski game as well. So yeah, I mean, just to. I don't think that Martin O'Neill and the captain McGregor will, do a team talk in the huddle and all that before the game. But I don't think they would have to say much tonight, even to get them up for a big game.
No, you don't have a lot to say for these kind of games, and in terms of the magnitude of the match, and in terms of a European occasion, this is the biggest match some of these Celtic players would have played. I know there's been probably more important matches this season, you could say, in other competitions, but for some of them, this is the night under the nights under the bright lights of European football, where you really get to shine on a continental stage and maybe impress a Stuttgart or another team in Germany or across Europe and get a big move, because we understand that Celtic and other Scottish clubs are sometimes stepping stones. I know I don't like to use that word really, but that's the reality of it. Every player wants to play at the top level of football, and there's no shame in that. And performing on a European stage in knockout games is one of the best ways to attract attention when you're at a club like Celtic. So that, coupled with the scenes at the weekend and how much emotion and belief the fans installed into the players to get that winner, is what Martin O'Neill said in the post-match press conference, I think, or the pre-match and for this game, that they'll want to go out and just win for the supporters. So yeah, I think that's where I get the confidence for and belief for in Celtic, not because of the quality they've shown in the recent games, but just the overall feeling around the football club is one of resilience at the minute, and it seems like they're going to be a really difficult team to stop in all fronts. And I think Stuttgart would be will have their work cut out, and it'll be really difficult for them if they are to go through.
There you go. There's all that Celtic and Stuttgart, 8 o'clock kickoff at Celtic Park. We'll be back at 10 o'clock to look over the action from hopefully a good win for our Scottish league in European football as well. And thanks to Ethan Barlow for joining us. Hopefully you enjoy the game, and we will speak to you soon. And don't forget to join us at 10 o'clock as we look back in the game between Celtic and Stuttgart at Celtic Park.
Following Celtic in the Europa Cup.